So that takes us to the Johannine letters. And I want to just say a few words here about John makes theology pretty simple. Easiest word in English is a subject, linking verb, and a predicate. I am Tom. That's a pretty simple thing. There's two statements about God, linking verb, and a predicate in the New Testament. They both come from the Johannine letters. God is light. Light is what enables us to have life, right? Think of the sun. But even more, God is love. And when he says God is love, he's saying love is who God is, and love is what God does. And that love of God, as was the case of the Gospel of John, revealed most dramatically in the incarnation of Jesus. Jesus, God's Word becoming flesh. And you think about that, what does it say? God holds nothing back in revealing love. Those of you who are parents can appreciate it, especially if you're a parent of an only child. God gives his son to us, revealing himself. And Jesus, in revealing God's love, held nothing back. And while the foot washing scene is from John's Gospel, which we hear proclaimed on Holy Thursday, reminding us that the Eucharist is a gift, and what the Eucharist empowers is to love as Jesus loved. You think about that scene. Jesus, who's hosting this banquet, gets up, takes off his outer tunic, puts a towel around his waist. He's putting on the garb of a slave, basin of water, or basin, pitcher of water. He's washing the disciples' feet. Now, today, bottom of our feet are probably not what we would lead with in showing ourselves to others. Not the most. But think of a time in which they weren't wearing shoals back then. Think of those disciples walking up, and what those feet were like when Jesus tenderly and lovingly washing feet. Peter objects because he sees how incommensurate this is, and Jesus says, if you don't allow me to wash your feet, you'll have no part in me. What Jesus is doing is he's through a prophetic action, he's interpreting what he's going to do the next day on the cross, giving himself that we might have life, and giving. John says Jesus loved his own, and he loved them, eis telos, to the very full extent. That's how Jesus reveals God's love, and these letters draw upon this. And it's in this letter that we have a very challenging saying. So you can't claim to love the God you can't see if you don't love the brother or sister whom you do see right next to you. And it's easy to love someone we don't see. When we're rubbing shoulders, and that can be a different story. But John's very insistent upon love, and he uses the imagery of family for the church or for the Christian community. And he says, what a privilege it is. He says, we're God's children. And he says, one day we'll see God face to face. We'll become like God. And the logic of these letters is we are by adoption what Jesus is by nature. So we're brothers and sisters of Jesus, and the Christian life is then about growing in the family likeness. Some families are distinguished by physical characteristics, and Smiths have a distinctive nose, and the Johnsons that chin. Some are distinguished by vocational, those folks. And there's 3 lawyers in that family. Some by disposition. I'm in Boston, so I don't say anything about the Irish and their stubbornness. But I'm German. I can say the Germans have it. But what's the family likeness here? Self-giving love, growing in the way of self-giving love and bringing about koinonia, communion, fellowship. John's very insistent on this, just as the gospel writer was, because the unity of the church, people loving people aren't even related to them as brothers and sisters shows forth the power of the gospel as a way of proclaiming the gospel. Megan's given me a signal I need to pick up the pace here a little bit. Here I'm just going to give a tease. There's several paradoxes in the letters that speak so eloquently about koinonia also has people calling one another antichrists and leaving the community. You have schism in the early church. You have people instructed not to give hospitality to certain emissaries. And I'll just give a tease. I try to wrestle with that in the text because he also gives us ways out of that.